Hey, welcome back. You're listening to part 3 of our series on totally mastering the CP1 acronyms. We're going to keep building that memory palace with 6 more absolutely essential mnemonics. The whole point here is to make remembering these under exam pressure feel totally automatic, almost second nature. So what's on the agenda today? We've got a great lineup. Tech scam, crimes, scarcer files, Fensty, trainers, and queried. We're going to cover everything from regulatory rules and bad advice to designing models and checking data. It's going to be a good one. Okay, let's dive right in. All right, first up, tech scam. Now, this one's all about how regulators can influence the assets a firm holds. And to really get this to stick, just imagine a super strict security guard at some high-tech lab. This guard is our regulator, and they are dead set on uncovering any tech scam. They've got this super detailed checklist, and they're not letting anything slip by. It's all about keeping the firm stable and solvent. So what's on this security guard's checklist? What powers do they have to investigate this so-called tech scam? Well, here's the breakdown. T, they can tell you what types of assets you can and can't invest in. E, they can limit the extent of any mismatching. C, they can force you to match the currency of your assets and liabilities. H, they can order you to hold certain assets. S, they can limit your exposure to a single counterparty. Another C, they can enforce strict rules on custodianship. A, they can cap the amount of any one asset. And finally, M, they can require a special mismatching reserve. Quite the list, right? Okay, to really lock this in, let's walk through the investigations step by step. Picture our regulator. First, they check the types of assets. Then, they measure the extent of any mismatch. Next, they trace all the foreign currency. After that, they issue an order. Hold these specific assets. Then they limit exposure to a single counterparty and put everything into safe custodianship. They verify the total amount, and for the final move, they freeze the mismatching reserve. See? A perfect tech scam investigation. Okay, quick test. What was H for? An A? Yep, hold certain assets and the amount of any asset. You got it. All right, let's switch gears. Put on your detective hat. You've just arrived at the scene of a total financial disaster. The victim? A client's entire future. The weapon? Inappropriate advice. And all the clues, they point to a series of classic financial, crimes. So what exactly are these crimes? What are the motives here? Well, C is for pushing super complicated products that no normal person could ever understand. R is when the advisor is, let's be blunt, just plain rubbish. I is for when their integrity is lacking. They care more about their commission than your retirement. M is when the model they're using is totally unsuitable. E is for sneaky errors hiding in the client's data. And S is for recommending state-encouraged actions that just aren't right for the client. It's a classic case. The best way to remember this is to think of it as your own personal checklist to avoid becoming a victim. So ask yourself, are they pushing complicated products on me? Is this advisor actually just rubbish? Is their integrity lacking? Is the financial model they're using totally unsuitable for my situation? Are there errors in my data? Or are they just recommending some state-encouraged action without thinking? Don't let anyone commit these crimes against you. Okay, quick recall. What was M and S? That's it. Model unsuitable and state-encouraged actions. Nicely done. Okay, let's leave the crime scene behind and head over to a construction site. Because when you're designing a financial model, it's exactly like you're drafting the blueprint for a massive skyscraper. If that blueprint is flawed, the whole thing could come crashing down. What you want are crystal clear plans, not some dusty old documents you'd find in, some scarcer files. Now this one is a bit of a monster, 12 letters. So let's not get overwhelmed. A good model blueprint needs to be simple, clear, and adequately documented. It needs to support a range of methods, be communicable, and easy to understand. It also has to be refinable. Then you have to think about the frequency of cash flows, the independent verification, consider the length of the run and the expense, and finally, it has to show sensible joint behavior. Phew, that's a lot, I know. So how on earth do we remember all that? Easy. We're going to use the archivist method. We'll just chunk it into 3 neat little folders. Folder 1 is core principles. It's got to be simple, clear, and adequately documented. Got it? Folder 2 is accessibility. It needs a range of methods, be communicable, and easy to understand. And finally, the big one, Folder 3, is quality control. This is where you put refinable, frequency, independent verification, length, expense, and sensible behavior. See? 3 simple folders. Way better than a bunch of scarcer files. All right, pop quiz. What was A and I? Exactly. Adequately documented and independent verification. So, we've got our blueprint all sorted out, thanks to scarcer files. Our model design is clear and accessible. But what if you have, say, 2 or 3 different models to choose from? Designing one is half the battle. Now you've got to assess the options, and you're going to need a really solid defense for the one you pick. And that brings us perfectly to our next acronym, Fence D. Seriously, just think about putting up a fence in your garden. You don't just go out and start digging, right? You think about it. What's it for? How high should it be? How much is this going to cost me? Well, picking a model is the exact same thing. You need to build a solid fence defense for your choice. So what are the posts in this fence? What's the checklist? First, F. Is this model really fit for my purpose? E. Do we actually have the expertise here to use it? N. Do we need it to be flexible for the future? C. What's the cost? Always got to ask about the cost. The second E. What's the expected number of uses? Is this a one-off or a daily thing? And finally, D. What's the desired level of accuracy? Good enough or absolutely perfect? So to lock this in, just build that fence in your mind, asking the questions as you go. Is it fit? Do we have the expertise? Do we need flexibility? What's the cost? What's the expected usage? And what's the desired accuracy? Boom, your fence defense is solid. Let's do a quick check. What were the 2 E's? And what about C? You got it. Expertise available and expected number of uses. And C is, of course, the cost. Okay, so we've designed a great model, we've assessed our options, we've picked the winner. But a model is useless without fuel, right? And that fuel is data. Think of your model like a world-class athlete. It needs a whole team of expert trainers to feed it the best stuff. So let's meet this team. So who's on this data team? Well, first you have T for tables. You know, the classic actuarial tables. Then R for data from reinsurers. A is for data from abroad. I is for general industry data. N is for national statistics. E is for your own in-house experience investigations. The second R is for regulatory reports. And S is for data from similar contracts. That's your whole crew. Now, to really remember these guys, just picture the office where the trainers work. Over in one cubicle, you've got the person who just stares at mortality tables all day. Next to them, the one who's always on the phone with the reinsurers. The person by the window, they're the specialist for data from abroad. Then you've got the analyst who compiles all the industry data, and the one pulling down national stats. Back in the lab, someone's running experience studies, while another person is just reading through dense regulatory reports. And finally, there's someone in the basement digging through old files looking for similar contracts. That's your team. Okay, you know the drill. What was A for? NN? Yep, data from abroad and national statistics. Awesome. And that brings us to our final acronym for today. Look, your team of trainers just dropped a huge stack of data on your desk. Fantastic. But you can't just trust it. No way. It's time to put that detective hat back on, because this data, it's like a witness on the stand, and you have to cross-examine it. Every last bit of it needs to be queried. So what questions are you going to fire at this data? Here's your cross-examination list. Q. Is the quantity enough to even be credible? U. Is this data up to date, or is it ancient history? E. Are there any glaring errors? R. Is it actually relevant to what I'm doing? I. Is it incomplete? Are there big gaps? Another E. Are there any crazy exceptionals or outliers messing everything up? And D. Is there enough detail, or is it too high level? Now, the absolute best way to drill this one in is to make it a rhythm. Turn that interrogation into a chant. Say it with me. Is the quantity credible? Is it up to date? Are there errors? Is it relevant? Is it incomplete? Are there exceptionals? Is there enough detail? See, that rhythm really helps it stick. Okay, last one for today. What does R stand for, and D? That's it. Relevant and detail insufficient. Wow, we have covered so much ground today. We went from uncovering tech scams and investigating financial crimes to drafting model blueprints, meeting a team of data trainers, and running a full-on data interrogation. You've now got 6 more really powerful tools for your CP1 memory palace. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Which one of these, which story or image is going to be the cornerstone for you? What's the one that really stuck? Think about it.